Let's do this. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
Welcome into the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching the show on X, _ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indie Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. It's Tuesday. I went to bed last night thinking that today was going to be Wednesday. So my days are they're all jumbled. That's okay. That's all right. We got a nice top 10 Tuesday for you today. We're going to talk NBA playoffs with Jared Dubin, who does a great job covering the NBA, also covers the NFL over at CBSSports.com. So he's coming on at 1 o'clock. We're going to look at some of these Indiana football players, guys that are going to get drafted relatively high. How are they going to look in the NFL? Going to go over some guys that the Colts, might consider trading up for. And then, of course, we had the NBA playoffs last night. I'll get to my thoughts on those at some point. We have games tonight as well. And we have a new professional sports owner that has taken the title of cheapest owner in sports. It's pretty incredible. So it's a loaded show today. Got a lot to get to. But I want to start with Top 10 Tuesday, because the NFL draft is quickly approaching. We're less than 60 hours away, which I'll be honest, like ESPN has like this little countdown clock where they're counting down the hours. I feel like we're too far away to be counting down the hours. I feel like once you get inside of 24 hours, you can count it down. But that countdown to the draft has been up there since yesterday, which just, feels a bit excessive. I don't know about all that. But anyway, so Top 10 Tuesday, backwards hat failures. And this started, 2 years ago. Anthony Richardson did a press conference with his visor on backwards and upside down. I said I didn't like it. People called me racist for that. It was, it's fine. It's whatever. And so before I get into who I think as of right now are your biggest backwards hat failures in professional sports, I want to explain why this is important. So I used to work at a bank. Attire was really important. I had to wear a suit every day. It sucked. I didn't like it. It was brutal. Couldn't stand it. I don't think anyone likes having to wear a suit to anything, let alone work every single day. I like being comfortable. That's why I'm wearing a hoodie and basketball shorts right now. It's great. But it made sense for the bank to have a dress code. When people walk into your office, when you work at a bank, they want to see someone that looks like they have their stuff together, that looks like they know what they're doing. You wouldn't be as likely to entrust your money to a place where they were all wearing sweatpants and hoodies, and they all looked like they were going to the frat house after. It's just a fact. When you're representing something like a bank or a big corporation, you need to represent it well. That's why I don't like it when NFL quarterbacks and head coaches wear their hats backwards at press conferences. I don't like it when NBA coaches do it. If they want to wear their hat backwards during a game, okay, fine. That's, whatever. If they want to wear their hat backwards when they're out at dinner during the week, totally fine. Just don't do it when you're representing a $1 billion franchise to the rest of the world. Could you imagine if our president addressed the nation in a Nike hoodie with sweat stains, worn out blue jeans, and a backwards hat on? First and foremost, that meme would go incredibly viral if that ever happened. But that wouldn't exactly give me confidence in him. Could you imagine if your boss led a big corporate meeting in a backwards hat and joggers? It's not a great look when you're someone that is important. The way that you represent your company is important. And that matters for NFL head coaches and quarterbacks. the two most influential voices on the team for every single franchise. And there are currently 10 head coaches, between football and basketball and quarterbacks that are backwards hat people. And it's not surprising to see that a lot of them are struggling. Number 10 for Top 10 Tuesday, Backwards Hat Edition. You've got Brian Schottenheimer, head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He's a backwards visor guy. I'll be honest. I don't get that one. I don't understand the backwards visor. Like, I understand like a backwards hat, like it still covers the top of your head. If you're bald and you don't want to get sunburned, makes sense. The backward visor, though, I don't know, man. Anyway. Brian Schottenheimer, backwards hat guy last year. He went 7-9-1 in his first year as a head coach. It's not a coincidence. Imagine representing the Dallas Cowboys and looking like you just rolled out of bed and you're about to go help your buddies move in for exchange for pizza and beer. It's not a surprise. The way that you represent your company is important. Number 9, I have Jason Kidd, head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. Jason Kidd has had a couple good seasons as a head coach. He got to the Western Conference Finals where Steve Kerr, a guy who would never wear a backwards hat, swept him. He got to the NBA Finals where the Celtics hit him with a little gentleman's sweep. Turn the hat around, and then maybe you'll actually have a chance in those bigger series. Number 8, I've got JJ Redick. He was a backwards hat guy on his podcast while he was interviewing for NBA head coaching jobs. I don't like it. Backwards hat says, I'm ready to party and get bounced in the first round. That's what happened to him last year. It's probably what's going to happen to him this year as well. Forwards hat says, I'm ready to go to work. Just look like you're ready to work and not like you're ready to go on another rager with your buddies at Duke. Okay, number 7, Dan Quinn, the current Commanders head coach. Did you know that Dan Quinn is only one game over 500 in his career? He had one good year in Atlanta where they went on a run to the Super Bowl. Do you know who his offensive coordinator that year was? Kyle Shanahan. Forwards hat guy. Kyle Shanahan leaves. He and his forward-facing hat leave. And Dan Quinn loses his job shortly after. I mean, look, every time Dan Quinn talks, he looks like he's going out for beers on a Friday night. Meanwhile, he's standing at the podium representing this billion-dollar franchise. Come on now. Just turn it around for those 5 minutes when you're talking to the media. Number 6, Brock Purdy. Another result of the hat-forward Kyle Shanahan and everything around him. I don't think it's a coincidence that when one of Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, or George Kittle miss a game, Brock Purdy's production drops. Look like a quarterback at all times whenever you're, talking to people or whatever. Don't look like a guy that I hired to move my couch. Number 5. This is a good one right here. Carson Wentz, big backwards hat guy. He had 1 year where he almost won MVP. He then gets hurt. Nick Foles leads the Eagles to the Super Bowl, and they beat Tom Brady and the Patriots. And that was really the extent of Carson Wentz's career. Backwards hat guy, not really a coincidence. Number 4, this is a good one as well. Matt Patricia, former disciple of Bill Belichick, a guy who would never wear his hat backwards, just saying. And that guy's probably the best coach in the history of the NFL. When the Lions hired him, he did his first press conference with a backwards hat on, and that just kind of set the tone for everything else. He went 13-29-1 during his time as the head coach in Detroit. Now, he's a college football coach. I just turn it around. It's amazing what happens when you just turn your hat around at the podium. Number 3 is Baker Mayfield, a great example of a guy who turned his hat around. He was a backwards hat guy. Did every press conference that way. When they were interviewing him for the NFL draft, it was on backwards. This is a guy who got arrested in Fayetteville, Arkansas. He really struggled early in his career. He was almost out of the league. He took a veteran minimum contract to go to Tampa. And when he was almost out of the league, it woke him up a little bit, turned his hat around. Now he's a franchise quarterback in Tampa Bay. It's amazing. He turned his hat around, and all of a sudden, his career turned around. Number 2, J.J. McCarthy hasn't panned out at all in Minnesota. If you go back to the draft that 2 years ago, if I remember correctly, he gets drafted, walking out, hats on backwards, and all that's happened since then is the Vikings have learned that they should have kept Sam Darnold. Now they're having to pivot to 5'9" Kyler Murray. I mean, come on now. Just turn it around. It's amazing what happens. Number 1, though, got to be our guy here in Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson, backwards and upside down visor. So he's got it, pointing up. Again, don't understand that look at all. But it's been bad from the start for him. He's going into year 4, still hasn't grown up yet, still isn't going to show up to OTAs or, whatever phase they're in right now. Come on now. Just turn it around. It's so amazing. Like when you look through the history of all of these quarterbacks and head coaches, like when you think about the best ones in the history of the sport, Bill Belichick, not a backwards hat guy. Phil Jackson in the NBA, not a backwards hat guy. Joe Mazzulla, guy who's probably going to win Coach of the Year this year for Boston, not a backwards hat guy. Sean McVay, he's like a heavy hair gel guy. He's got to spike it up and do all that kind of stuff. Never see him in a backwards hat. I know it sounds ridiculous. The look on Chris's face right now is just like what is this guy talking about?
Just got the mental pictures going through my head.
By the way, Chris, excellent producer. Forwards hat guy right now.
Yeah. I even when I was younger, I don't think I did backwards hat.
I mean, I'm with you. I didn't do it either. Part of this, I think, for me is, first and foremost, I think it's true. I think that when you're representing something that is worth a lot of value, like could you imagine if like the CEO of Chase Bank was addressing the media in like a backwards hat? I don't think it looks good. I don't think that it gives off the vibe that like you're in control and that you're put together, two things that you need to be if you're going to be a quarterback or a head coach in the NFL. The other part of it is when I was a kid, the guys who coached the baseball teams that I played on growing up, they were big about it, man. I remember being like 8 years old, turning it around, and Coach Richards yelling at me, "Hey, turn it around." Like, oh,
yeah,
my bad.
Here.
And so, yeah, I don't know.
There's
People
a right
think I'm
time
crazy.
and right place for it.
Exactly.
Sure.
Like I don't mind, like if you're cleaning out your garage, turn it around, man. If it is Friday night and you're out with your boys at a bar, go turn it around, man. Don't care at all. But when you're, again, representing something bigger than yourself, which is what you're doing every time you're at the podium, like just look professional for like those 5 minutes. All right? Like that's all I'm asking. And I'm bringing it up today because the NFL draft is 2 days away, which is nuts. I'm going to make a list of every guy that I see. Well, not every guy. Because, like, if your wide receiver is wearing a backwards hat, I almost, like, prefer that. Because, like, the best wide receivers in the NFL, they're a little crazy. They're into themselves quite a bit. Same goes for, like, defensive backs and edge rushers. But at the same time, the only time a wide receiver's press conference goes viral is when they're throwing a teammate under the bus or when they're asking for a trade. Whereas with quarterbacks, everything that you say matters. And when you're the head coach, everything that you say matters. And so for like if Arvell Reese gets drafted and he turns his hat around on the stage, like, I don't care. Because you don't play quarterback and you're not the head coach. Now, Fernando Mendoza does it, which would be shocking, by the way. By the way, Coach Signetti, not a backwards hat guy. No way. Absolutely no way. So, and then, we've got all these, let me look here. We got all these comments on YouTube talking about guys cutting their hair. Same thing. Cut your hair and get serious. It's important. It's important. So, I don't know. This is just one of the things that makes me me, I guess.
I like Otter Creek's comment about doing an NBA feminine clothing guy. Miles Turner, you think would be in that list?
Every NBA guy would be on the list. The only guy who wouldn't make the list is Con Knipple, who I love, by the way, because when he shows up to games, he wears Hornets gear. He's in like a Hornets long sleeve and like Hornets sweatpants. That's my kind of guy right there. That's how I'd be showing up to every game.
Who on IU football would be a backwards hat guy from IU fan 71?
Probably the transfer from Michigan State who wanted to wear gold cleats the first day to practice. I don't even know his name. But honestly, no one that matters. Like Josh Hoover, the transfer from TCU, probably not a backwards hat guy. Coach Signetti isn't. I don't think any of their coordinators are. No one that like actually matters for those guys. So we'll see, man. I'm interested to see. Like, I think Ty Simpson's a backwards hat guy. He's probably going to be drafted late in the first round on Thursday. So probably going to be out on him as soon as that happens. And we'll kind of see how the rest of them look. So we'll see. I'm with you, Ross. The Spurs wearing custom suits. I don't know if you saw that, but it was like Kelly Olynyk's 35th birthday. And so for his birthday, they played in their first playoff game in 6 years. And so he ordered all of his teammates these like custom made suits, and they're all black, and they look dope. It was really cool. I like it. All right. So yeah, no backwards hat. This is a backwards hat free zone. We don't put up with that here. We got some movement, by the way. Billy Donovan is leaving the Bulls. Can't say I blame him. Terrible franchise. But we're not quite yet done with the NFL. Fernando Mendoza is going to be the number 1 overall pick. I think he's going to be an excellent NFL quarterback. I'll tell you why in 3 minutes.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X__Jonathan Smith, follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. The NFL draft is 2 days away, and this draft is just weird because usually you go into the draft and you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen. No one has any idea. It's like every, expert has like a different best offensive tackle. Like there's no consensus number one offensive tackle. There's no consensus number one edge rusher. There's no consensus number one wide receiver, and so on. And so it's making it kind of hard to pin down on like who's going to fall, who's going to rise, and all of those kinds of things. The one thing that we do know is Fernando Mendoza is going number one overall. And I think Mendoza is going to be awesome. Part of it is because I don't think Fernando Mendoza is a backwards hat guy. And that's one of the reasons why I think he's going to be a really good NFL quarterback. So Todd McShay and Daniel Jeremiah are two of the, I think, better guys in the NFL draft space when it comes to evaluating talent. And they said this the other day on the Ryan Russillo podcast.
So we're going to take a player from this year's class and then compare them to how you felt about this other player when they were coming out. So Mendoza or Justin Herbert?
That's a great question. I wouldn't stand on it now, but I have a higher grade on Mendoza than I had on Herbert coming out.
Same. The things that bother me about Herbert, I still feel like haven't been totally answered, but I feel like we're trending towards it. Like I'm going to be, I don't want to say proven wrong, but I was worried about like there's a lot of great tools. Is he going to ever be like the guy that,
They're actually similar players, like a little bit mechanical, drive throwers more than layer throwers. Herbert's a better athlete.
And a stronger arm.
And a bigger arm.
Yeah, bigger arm, yeah. My grade is slight. I mean, it's like 93 Mendoza, 91, I think it was Herbert. So it's not a massive difference.
That was Daniel Jeremiah and Todd McShay talking about their evaluation of Fernando Mendoza compared to Justin Herbert. Look, man, anytime you're getting compared to Justin Herbert, who's one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL, that is incredibly high praise. To hear that both of those guys have a higher grade on Mendoza compared to Justin Herbert when he came out of Oregon, saying a lot. Now, obviously, Mendoza not as athletic as Justin Herbert, doesn't have as big of an arm as Justin Herbert. Both of those things are pretty obvious. But those are not the things that make a great quarterback. 80% of playing quarterback is between the ears and the willingness to put the time in during the week to be ready for games. Anthony Richardson is more talented and more gifted than Fernando Mendoza. It's the reality of it. But Fernando Mendoza is going to be 1,000 times more successful than Anthony Richardson just because of his commitment level. He's also a much more accurate thrower of the football. And you know that he has some ability to process post-snap because that's a lot of what RPO systems are, right? There are cues but before the snap that you can pick up on to kind of know what's going to happen. But ultimately, you have to see what the defense does to then know what you're going to do, okay? So that has been a knock, though, on Fernando Mendoza. You'll hear people say things like, he's mainly been like an RPO guy during his time in college. And I hate that criticism so much because no one cared how many RPOs Caleb Williams and Trevor Lawrence ran when they were in college. And they both ran a lot. Listen to this. This is the RPO rate in the final college season for the presumed first overall pick according to ESPN's charting. So Fernando Mendoza, last year at Indiana, ran an RPO on 18% of his snaps. Cam Ward, his year at Miami, ran an RPO on 14% of his snaps. Caleb Williams, his last year at USC, ran an RPO on 20%, 1/5 of his snaps. Bryce Young, his final year at Alabama, ran an RPO on about 12.5% of his snaps. And Trevor Lawrence, his last year at Clemson, ran an RPO on 17.5% of his snaps. No one cared about how many RPOs all of those other guys ran. They just looked at Caleb Williams and said, wow, that guy looks like an NFL quarterback with NFL talent. They didn't care about the RPOs. That's how they felt about Trevor Lawrence as well. That's how they felt about Cam Ward and Bryce Young. And that, to me, I think is because of the gap. When you look at all the quarterbacks on that list, Fernando Mendoza is the least athletic quarterback on there, and he has a lesser arm than all of them except for Bryce Young. And so now, because, the athleticism and the arm doesn't jump off the page like some of the other quarterbacks who have gone number one overall, we say, I don't think he can do it. He ran a lot of RPOs. Everyone in college runs a lot of RPOs. Ultimately, though, there is some validity to it because you have to win games from the pocket, which is something that we saw Fernando Mendoza do this year. We saw it against Oregon, and we saw it against Penn State. He can win games from the pocket when the opposing team knows that they are throwing the football. Sure, he can't throw the ball 75 yards in the air flat-footed, but his arm is strong enough to make every throw on the field. I get it. He doesn't run a 4.40. He can't dunk a basketball like Anthony Richardson. That was a big deal here in Indianapolis when that happened. Who cares? It's how you operate within the pocket. Another very important aspect of playing quarterback is your ability to speak, because you are speaking to your offensive linemen, you're speaking to your wide receivers, you're speaking to your coaches, you're speaking to the media. Fernando Mendoza is a genuinely good dude who is great in front of a microphone. Listen to him yesterday on the Rich Eisen show when he was asked about why he was staying home for the draft as opposed to making the trip to Pittsburgh.
Well, I was hoping to run into you in Pittsburgh, but obviously, word is that you're going to be elsewhere. Can you walk me through that process and how you decided to celebrate your drafting the way that you plan to, Fernando?
Pittsburgh is a great opportunity, and it's a great venue. And I'm really excited to see all the guys, or most of the guys, walk across the stage on Thursday night. It's be a dream for a lot of guys. However, my mom really wanted to do it at home, and so do my parents. It's a lot easier for us, especially with the family situation.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to hop on a plane the next morning anyways. And for that travel, it'd be a lot easier to stay at home. I wanted to stay and make the memory with everybody who poured into my football journey. Mentors, coaches, family, friends. You want to share that moment with all of them is going to be the best memory that I can make, rather than limiting it to 10 or 12 people in Pittsburgh, which is going to be great. And I still want to be the best league partner I can become and make sure that there's how many cameras that ESPN wants there or whatever they need from me, I will do. However, I think it's very important to start off this journey with everyone who's gotten me to this point.
Fernando Mendoza right there on the Rich Eisen show talking about how he ended up making the decision to stay at home for the NFL draft this year. That's a great answer. It's a great answer. His mom has multiple sclerosis, so she's in a wheelchair. Much easier for them to stay at home. And he's right. It is going to be cool for him to experience getting drafted number one overall with all of his friends and his family around him. I'm glad that he understands the importance of being a partner with the NFL. It means he's going to understand how to partner with the team to, portray and act how a NFL quarterback should. This also feels like a Fernando Mendoza decision. If he'd shown up to the NFL draft in like a flashy Gucci suit and like a sparkly watch, that wouldn't have felt authentic. And I think that's an important part of being an NFL quarterback. When you're leading people, you have to be yourself. Fernando Mendoza knows exactly who he is as a person. Sure, he's a little awkward, but he led that Indiana team to a national championship after, just showing up and meeting everybody in spring camp. He's going to be fine leading the Raiders locker room. He's got a good veteran backup in Kirk Cousins. I think that's a really important thing for him. He's also huge. He's 6'5". That works in the NFL. Small quarterbacks don't work, but big quarterbacks who can move do, and that is Fernando Mendoza. That is who he is. Okay, his only issue, the only problem he's going to face, because he's got the arm, he's got the size, I think he has the ability to lead a team, he has the mental makeup. His only issue is he's getting drafted by the Raiders. That's the only problem. But if he doesn't work out in Vegas, I think he is a prime Sam Darnold candidate in 5 years, where he goes somewhere else that's not as dysfunctional and he really pops. The one thing, though, about the Raiders that makes me think that it'll actually work there is this. They have excellent skill players. Brock Bowers is a stud at tight end. Ashton Jeanty, I know he didn't have a great year last year, but that offensive line for the Raiders wasn't very good. They've addressed some of those issues in free agency. So they have a stud tight end. They have a great young running back, and they should be able to find a wide receiver in this draft to add to that group of skill players. That's three good options. They also hired a new head coach. Now, new isn't always better. I think that's something that we mess up sometimes. New isn't always better, but Clint Kubiak is an offensive-minded head coach, and I like that for a young quarterback. When you go play for Mike Tomlin in the Steelers, he's not doing anything to help you play the position. But when you go play for Mike McDaniel or Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, they find a way to make the game easier on you. So the fact that Mendoza is going to go play for Clint Kubiak is really important for him. If you don't know who that is, Sam Darnold went to Seattle last year, played for Kubiak, who was the Seahawks offensive coordinator, and they won a Super Bowl. The Kubiak family as well, they are directly linked to the Shanahans and the creation of that West Coast offense that you see pretty much every team in the NFL run. So, if Kubiak can coach, then Mendoza, I think, is going to work out really well in Las Vegas. I think he checks every box that you want your young quarterback to check. The question is just if the Raiders got the head coach right. And if they did, then the Raiders could be a team that maybe makes the playoffs this year. That might be a bit high of an expectation, but I do think that is in the cards for them. Fernando Mendoza, not going to be the only IU player drafted this year. There's a couple receivers as well that I find intriguing. We'll talk about them a little bit. Mike Vrabel addressed the media for the first time since the incident with Diana Rossini. We've got that audio for you, and we're going to play it for you in 3 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Mike Vrabel addressed the media today for the first time since the photos with him and Diana Rossini came out. Chris and I listened to it during the break. We're not going to play it because it's just coach speak. Didn't say anything. Just like I've had conversations with a lot of people. And that was pretty much it. And after that, it was just 2.5 minutes of absolutely nothing. I mean, right, Chris?
His demeanor did look like he was ashamed, though.
Could you
He
imagine?
looked a little remorseful, like he did something wrong for sure.
Yeah, but it's like
He does not look innocent.
he's probably not ashamed. What's the old adage? It's like you're not sorry you did it, you're sorry you got caught.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, there it is. I don't know. That's kind of what it sounded like. But he made a point of how he wanted to talk to his team before he talked to the media. That makes sense. But outside of that, he didn't really say anything. 317-228-1430. I have to remember to ask for callers. That's something that I didn't do at all yesterday. 317-228-1430 if you have thoughts on the NFL draft, if you have thoughts on Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini, I guess. Thoughts on anything. Someone in the YouTube section, here's the YouTube comment section, said something about Indiana men's basketball. It's going to be a really exciting year for them this next year. So anything like that, 317-228-1430. So Indiana, they're going to have the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. And there's another guy that I think should absolutely go in the first round, that I think is going to be an absolute stud in every way, shape, or form. It's Omar Cooper Jr. I freaking love this dude. He was Indiana's best skill player last year. So their best, among their running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. And I think he's going to be an absolute stud in the NFL. I really hope the 49ers take him 27th overall. I think he's a late first round, early second round kind of receiver. Probably going to be off the board before the Colts can get to him, unless they trade up, which could happen, but probably won't. And I think Omar Cooper Jr. does everything that you want for an NFL wide receiver to do. I wish he was a little bit taller. He's 6 feet tall even, which is, that's fine. That's cool. And outside of that, though, man, dude's dang near perfect. He's fast. Ran a 4.42 at the NFL Combine, which is, that's fast, man. I'd love to run a 4.42. He's a vertical athlete, jumped 37 inches. It's pretty good. And he's incredibly quick. That means he has the speed to stretch the field. He has the vertical to go up and make contested catches. And he has the quickness to separate from corners when he's running routes. He's also good after the catch. He's, again, everything that a team wants in a wide receiver, Omar Cooper Jr. is. He kind of reminds me of Deebo Samuel. It's part of why I want the Niners to take him with that 27th pick. He also reminds me of a bigger Josh Downs because he can play in the slot. And look, if Josh Downs was 4 inches taller, he could play out wide, and that's exactly what Omar Cooper Jr. is. So he has the size to play out wide. He can play in the slot, where he's just going to torment linebackers and safeties for years to come. I think Omar Cooper Jr. is a rare prospect that the fail rate is really short or really small. I think that no matter where he ends up, he's going to be successful because he can just do so many different things. He can play in the slot. He can play out wide. He's good after the catch. He can stretch the field with his speed. He can run a bunch of different routes in the route tree, and he has the physicality and the quickness to separate from corners. He just does so many different things well that I think it's going to be hard for him to not end up being a guy in the NFL. Elijah Surratt, though, I don't feel that way about. If Elijah Surratt was a guy who got drafted in the third round and barely saw the field, it wouldn't surprise me at all. He's not a burner. I don't think he runs enough routes. That could be a system thing, I guess. When you look at how Indiana used him last year, it was a lot of back shoulder fades. And if you're going to play in the NFL, you have to be able to run the route tree if you're going to succeed. I like that Elijah Surratt's really good at making contested catches. I like that he has great spatial awareness. Like, so many of his receptions came down the sideline. He was great at getting at least 1 foot in. I like that he doesn't drop anything. I mean, can you remember any dropped pass from Elijah Surratt during his time at IU? Didn't really drop anything, which means he has excellent hands. So again, there's a lot of things to like about him. It's why he's going to be a day 2 pick in the NFL draft. Here's the thing. None of that matters if you can't get open. You can have the best hands ever. But it doesn't matter if you're not open. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to separate from NFL cornerbacks. Okay, and he's not a field stretcher. He doesn't have the speed for it. And there are some positions in the NFL where athletic ability is just emphasized a little bit more. It's more important. Really athletic defensive ends usually translate better than stiff ones. Really athletic wide receivers usually translate better than stiff ones. And the fact that Elijah Surratt didn't test anything at the combine speaks to him not being like a great NFL athlete. Obviously, compared to me, he's a stud. But compared to other NFL athletes, I don't think he is. So, Jonathan, how do you know that? I know that because he didn't test at the combine. We are in an era of college sports where if you're not going to test well at the combine, you just don't test. He opted out of the 40-yard dash. He opted out of the vertical jump. He opted out of the bench press. He opted out of the broad jump. He opted out of the 3-cone drill. He opted out of the 20-yard shuttle. He opted out of everything. That tells you all you need to know about his athleticism. Someone thought that if he tested doing those things, it would hurt his draft stock. He needs to go to the right place. I think fit is significantly more important for Elijah Surratt than it is for a guy like Omar Cooper Jr. Because to Elijah Surratt's credit, he's good at finding holes in the zone. He's decent after the catch. The question is just whether or not he's going to be athletic enough to separate and get away from NFL-level cornerbacks. That is the question. Even when you go to that game against Ohio State, where he played well, had a touchdown reception. Every catch he made, he was draped, absolutely covered. Fernando Mendoza had to throw him open. It's not great. It's not a great sign for a future NFL receiver. We had a couple of great signs last night. So Jared Dubin, who has an excellent Substack called Last Night in Basketball, he's going to join the show here in about 12 minutes. We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. We had awesome games last night. We got more games tonight. Can't wait for them. So, look, this Cavaliers and Raptors series, it might be done in 4 games. Cleveland caught a real break getting Toronto. They are just so much more talented, so much better. The Raptors just don't have enough offense. Running your offense through Brandon Ingram, not great. So, if that series ended in a sweep, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Hawks-Knicks is officially a series with the Hawks beating the Knicks last night. It's hard to win with 2 defensive liabilities. We've seen that from the Knicks now, 2 years in a row. Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns make it hard for the Knicks to get stops late, which makes it hard for them to survive quarters where they don't score the ball very well. They scored like 15 points in the fourth quarter last night as they blew a 14-point lead and gave up home court advantage. When you have two guys who you can pick on, we saw the Pacers do this to them as well. They put Towns and Jalen Brunson in every pick and roll possible last year and just worked them to death. Even when you have three other great defenders around them, it does not matter. And so last night, when the Hawks needed a bucket, they gave the ball to CJ McCollum, got him matched up with Jalen Brunson, and CJ McCollum scored every single time. And there are some playoff games where the home team gives it away. We're going to talk about that here in a second. And there's other games where a team just takes it. And I thought that the Hawks just kind of took that game from New York last night. Every bucket they needed, they got. Every time they needed a stop, they seemed to get it. Jared Dubin is a Knicks fan, so we're definitely going to talk to him about this. That series is going to be awesome, especially if CJ McCollum continues to just tear the Knicks up the way that he's done in these first couple of games. So that game, going back to Atlanta, game 3 is going to be spectacular. Atlanta enjoys its basketball, so I'm sure that it's going to be a really fun environment as well. The other game that happened last night, Wolves-Nuggets. The Nuggets gave that game away. They blew a 19-point lead. Credit to Rudy Gobert, who gets made fun of a lot. But he played excellent defense last night on the best player on the planet. I thought that the Nuggets just settled. I thought that they ran out of gas. That's usually a sign when teams are settling for bad shots. It usually means that they're tired. I thought that the Nuggets looked tired late in that game last night. And to Minnesota's credit, they took complete and full advantage of it. Anthony Edwards was really good. He had 30 points, 10 rebounds from a guard. It's impressive. Naz Reid had a really important stretch early fourth quarter where he just got every single bucket that they needed. Bones Highland and Ayo Dosunmu both had little moments here and there where they got it going. Dante DiVincenzo shot it well. He was plus 20. And then you look at the Nuggets, who didn't play bad. They just had a bad fourth quarter where they only scored 21 points. And it was because they settled way too often. They settled way too often for tough, contested threes. Okay, the only guy who was making them was Jamal Murray, who was 6 of 14 from 3 on the night. But outside of that, their other guys didn't make shots. Christian Brown didn't. Cam Johnson didn't. Aaron Gordon didn't. Jokic was 1 of 7 from 3. He settled way too much. They just have to play with a little bit more force, and I think that they're going to wind up being okay. But that game, that series, it's now officially a series because you're going to go back to Minnesota, who's good, who's a tough matchup for Denver, and their next game is going to be nuts. And then you've got games tonight, three more tonight. The 76ers are going to play Boston. Give me Boston by 1 million, unless they shoot poorly, because you know that they're going to take like 53s, and that'll kind of be that. But if they shoot it averagely, I think that they blow Philly out again. Blazers and Spurs, enjoy the Wemby show. It's unique. It's fun. It's incredibly entertaining. So enjoy that. The Blazers just don't have enough offensively to go in and win those games. And then late night tonight, Rockets, Lakers. Is Kevin Durant back? If he is, I love the Rockets. If not, then you probably have to take the Lakers again. I've never seen a playoff team run as bad of an offense as I have seen from the Rockets, especially in game 1. Like, spacing is something that you learn about when you're 6 years old playing, city league basketball. And the Rockets don't seem to understand spacing. It's really, really bizarre. So they desperately need Kevin Durant back. Hopefully he gets out there tonight. But even if he doesn't, it's going to be fun to watch because you're going to have 41-year-old LeBron James conducting that Lakers offense like it's an orchestra. And everyone's going to be in the right spot, and he's going to make the right play every single time. And it's just going to be an absolute masterclass of how to control a basketball game. So the Rockets, they get Kevin Durant back tonight. You got to love them. If they don't, then the Lakers are going to have a 2-0 lead heading back to Houston. Jared Dubin of lastnightinbasketball.com. You can read his NFL stuff at cbssports.com. He joins the show at 1 o'clock.
do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Hour number 2 getting underway. Thanks for tuning into the show, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X, __ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. So many ways to listen. There's really no excuse not to. We are now joined by the one and only Jared Dubin, who does a great job covering the NBA over at lastnightinbasketball.com. He's got some articles up on all the different game ones and obviously the game twos from last night. He covers the NFL at CBSSports.com as well. He had a mock draft go up about 4 days ago, and I'm just so excited to have him on. Jared, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm great. I'm back on the air, man, so I can't complain at all.
It's good to it's good to hear. Good to have you back on the air.
It is, man. It is, and I'm excited to talk to you. I'll be honest. Part of it is because the Knicks did lose last night, and I know you're a Knicks fan. Let's start there. How worried are you about this series going forward?
I'm not necessarily too worried. I was talking to a friend before the game, and one of the things I said was the Hawks don't really have an answer for Karl Anthony Towns, and as long as he doesn't disappear from the offense, the Knicks should kind of control the series. ... But they'll probably mess around in a game or two, and that's why I picked it to be a long series. And that's exactly what happened. Karl Anthony Towns disappeared from the offense down the stretch of the game. They messed around in this game, blew a 14-point lead, and now it's going to be a long series, I think.
There was a stretch in the fourth quarter where Mike Brown ran a lineup out there with no Brunson and no Towns on the floor. That really kind of seemed like the point where the Hawks made the push. I try not to analyze coaches too much because I'm dumb compared to them, but I just don't think that in the playoffs you should have a stretch where your two best offensive players are both on the bench. Why do you think Coach Brown did that, and do you think that we see them continue to do that going forward?
Yeah, so they used that lineup down the stretch of the season, and it worked pretty well for them. It worked pretty well in game 1, too. I thought that the stretch at the start of the second quarter, where they only scored 3 points in about 4.5 minutes, was way more damaging than the stretch at the start of the fourth quarter, when they only let the lead go down from 12 to 9. Like when Brunson and Towns checked back in, they were still up by 9 points. So they blew that lead down the stretch of the game. Whereas in the second quarter, they were up by quite a bit, and it was only a 1-point game by the time those guys checked back in. Brown said after the game that he doesn't mind playing lineups without both Brunson and Towns out there, so maybe we do see it again. I wouldn't necessarily trust it as much as he does, but I don't think that the fourth quarter stretch with those guys out there is why they lost the game. I think particularly their offensive process, once those guys checked back in, and then the fact that they were just allowing Jalen Brunson to be hunted on defense when he had 4 fouls late in the game, that was sort of what plagued them on the other side of the ball.
Joined by Jared Dubin. You can read his stuff on the NBA over at lastnightinbasketball.com. You can read his NFL stuff over at CBSSports.com. So the CJ McCollum stuff in these first 2 games has been, I don't want to say surprising because he's obviously still a really good player. I guess I'm just surprised that he's having more of an impact than Jalen Johnson is. Are you surprised by that? Why is McCollum playing so well? Why do you think Johnson is, I don't want to say struggling because I don't think he's been bad. He just hasn't been as dynamic as I thought he would be.
Well, I think Jalen Johnson is struggling, and Josh Hart's defense has a lot to do with it. He's been fantastic through the first 2 games of the series. He's been the best player on the floor for the Knicks. Same thing with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Mikal Bridges, for the most part, has done a really good job on him. And why CJ is getting going, he's being guarded by Brunson. And Brunson got in some foul trouble in this game. Late in the game, they did switch Bridges onto him. He still had some success, though, because they were just giving up the switch. And that allowed CJ to get into the lane, and that created ball movement where they were able to get some looks for other guys, too.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm not too worried about the Knicks. I think that they go into Atlanta and win game 3. Jalen Brunson, after the first quarter of games 1 and 2, hasn't been as good as I expect for him to be. And I think that changes, and I thought that your point earlier on Towns, as long as he stays engaged, the Knicks are going to be fine. I'm much more concerned about
I think that's at least in part on Brunson too. Like, and it's sacrilegious to say here in New York, but I think a lot of the blame has to go to Brunson for their offensive process late in the game. They were walking the ball up the floor. They were initiating every set from like a foot over the half court line. Not much was going on other than Brunson trying to attack one-on-one. You got to get Towns more involved in the action. It can't always be Josh Hart screening. You got to be able to get that guy involved, even if he's not getting post-ups. Like, just involve him in the play as the screener so you can get things going for whether it's him or get Brunson a more favorable matchup or get the ball movement rolling.
Yeah, that's totally fair as well. The Towns thing, and one of the things that I think makes him so valuable is that, like, he doesn't need a post touch. Like you said, his ability to pick and pop. I mean, he's one of the best shooting big men ever. His ability to drive, like when he faces up on the wing and just goes, especially with if the Hawks are going to play what's his name? Muhammad Gay. Like, if they're going to put him out there, I mean, that's a guy that, like, as you mentioned, like, Towns should be able to score pretty easily no matter where he catches it. And so I think that's, a really good point from you as well. How concerned are you about Detroit after their game 1 loss to the Magic?
Mildly, I guess. The Magic's physicality, like, the Magic did Pistons things better than the Pistons in game 1. And that is mildly concerning, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I don't want to say the Magic thing is just weird because coming into the season, there were really high hopes for them. They obviously don't come anywhere close to those. Part of that's because Franz Wagner had been out he played like, I think 34 games all year. Paulo Banchero shot the ball poorly on mid-range jumpers. And all of a sudden, they blow out a Charlotte team that everyone loved. And then they go into Detroit. And like you said, they did Pistons things better than the Pistons. I'm pretty concerned for Detroit just because outside of Cade Cunningham, they don't have a lot of on-ball creation. What do you think is the answer for them when Cade is struggling or is off the floor?
I think Jalen Duren in particular needs to be better. His individual creation this season was so much better than it was in previous years. They didn't really get him going at all. They didn't get him the ball on pick and rolls either. Dennis Jenkins going better than 1 for 6 and 1 for 5 from 3 would obviously help down the stretch of the season. He was really good, particularly in the games that Cade missed. So they got to get one of those two guys going. Like, Tobias Harris can't take 15 shots. Like, your offense has to get other guys the ball rather than swinging the ball to Tobias every time. And a lot of his shots need to be more of the mismatch variety rather than posting up similarly sized guys. When he gets a smaller guy in the post, he can be pretty effective. But when he's got to use quickness rather than bulk and power, it's not as good for him anymore because he doesn't have the same kind of burst that he did earlier in his career.
He doesn't. And there's a part of me that wonders, like, if Tobias Harris just makes 2 more corner threes in that game, are we even worried about this at all? Because he was open. He just didn't make the shot, which I'm sure Philly fans are like, yeah, that's exactly what happens when you have Tobias Harris.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously capable of making those shots. He's been a very good corner three-point shooter throughout his career. 2 years ago against the Knicks, it did not go very well, obviously, famously, but he's obviously more than capable of making those shots.
What about the Nuggets last night? They blew a 19-point lead to just a really tough and physical Minnesota team. Anthony Edwards had 30. Didn't feel like he had 30, but he did. What'd you make of that game last night?
I think similar to the Knicks, the Denver's offense down the stretch was the problem. Like, the Nuggets only scored 9 points in the 8 minutes after Nikola Jokic came back in the game. That's inexcusable. You got to be better than that offensively. There were a couple of plays where Jokic passed up floaters in the middle of the lane to make a pass, and they didn't wind up scoring on those plays. He had a big third quarter, but not so much on the fourth. Jamal Murray had 26 points a minute into the second half and then only had 4 the rest of the game. He missed a couple of open threes on the possession where the Nuggets were down by 3 late in the game. He comes around the screen, has an open 3, but steps inside the arc and then takes a step back 22-footer inside the line. Doesn't go in anyway, but some of the offensive process stuff from the Nuggets late in the game was atypical for them.
Joined by Jared Dubin. You can read his NBA stuff over at lastnightinbasketball.com. You can read his NFL stuff over at cbssports.com. So I thought that the Nuggets, I thought that they ran out of gas late. I thought you could see it in the way that they settled. I thought for some tough jumpers, in which, last year, if they were to run out of gas late, it would make sense because I didn't like their bench last year as much as I do this year. Why do you think that they ran out of gas? Do they need to play their bench more? What do you think is the adjustment for Denver going forward?
Yeah, well, Jamal played 43 minutes and Jokic played 40. When you do that, you can run out of gas. That's just that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. So, do you think that the answer is more Valanciunas minutes? Is it more Tim Hardaway Jr., who I know defensively isn't great, but when he was in last night, he at least made shots? Is it more Bruce Brown? What do you think is kind of the tweak that Denver makes going into Game 3?
I don't think it's more Valanciunas minutes. Maybe you need to go a little bit more at the start of quarters with a small ball look with Aaron Gordon at center. Maybe him and Spencer Jones on the front line. Some of this is they don't have Peyton Watson, so they don't have as many bench guys that they trust as they normally would. Bruce Brown, I think, only played 16 minutes last night after being really good in Game 1. He hit a couple of threes, but didn't do much else last night. Hardaway played 25 or 27, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's not like they didn't use anybody, but they do have one less bench guy that they trust than they normally would. And we don't know if or when Peyton Watson's going to be able to come back.
Yeah, and he'll be obviously really important for them. Good defender, good shooter, really came on strong this year. I want to look at tonight's games now as well. I have enjoyed watching 41-year-old LeBron James so much this year. I thought he was incredible in Game 1, just the way that he controlled everything. His first quarter where he dishes out 8 assists was it's just a lot of fun to watch. With that being said, if Kevin Durant comes back tonight, I haven't seen anything on that. I still like Houston to win the series, but how much have you enjoyed just watching LeBron in kind of the final stages of his career?
Yeah, I mean, it's a privilege to still be watching this guy. It makes no sense. He was drafted before I graduated high school, and I'm still watching him, 23 years later at 38 years old. It makes no sense on any level that he's able to do this. He was fantastic the other night in Game 1, and he's obviously got to carry such a significant load for them with Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves out. It's basically got to be him or Luke Kennard on the ball at pretty much all times. And the fact that he was able to do it in Game 1 is pretty spectacular.
It really is. I was almost more impressed by Luke Kennard and how he looked on the ball.
Oh, yeah.
I was. Were you surprised by that?
He's always had a little bit more on-ball juice than he's been able to show throughout his career because he's not really necessarily a point guard, but he did play some of that when he was in college, sort of splitting ball handling responsibilities. He is capable of doing that, but obviously he has to do a lot more now than he's been asked to throughout most of his career.
How much better? Last thing for you, Jared, and I'll let you go. How much better do you think how much better will the Rockets be when Kevin Durant comes back? Because even though he's still a great offensive player, he doesn't solve all of their issues when he's out there.
He doesn't solve all of their issues, but he does solve their biggest issue, which is that they don't have anybody that can create for themselves in the half court other than him. Because when you don't have him out there, all of a sudden there are no lanes for Alperen Şengün to do anything. And having KD out there as a floor spacer and as a guy who can create for himself is absolutely massive for them. There's a reason they went out and got Durant this offseason because they didn't have that guy. And he is one of the best versions of that guy that's ever existed in the league.
Yeah, he's, we talked about LeBron earlier, but Durant at 37 or 38, however old he is, just still incredible as well. Hopefully he's back tonight. I think the game will be a lot more entertaining if he is. Jared, what article-wise, what all do you have coming out this week?
just reacting to all these playoff games and maybe a video breakdown or two, depending on what happens in these games.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, Jared.
Thanks for having me.
That is Jared Dubin. You can read his stuff over at lastnightinbasketball.com. You can read his NFL stuff over at cbssports.com as well. As I said, he's got a mock draft out, and he's got some different shorter articles out as well. The playoffs are rolling, and it's fun, man. I'm having a blast. I don't like the late tips. Can't stand it. I was up till 2 a.m. last night watching the Nuggets play, and Rockets-Lakers tips off at 10:30 as well. So not great. But, it's all good. It's playoff basketball. I can't really complain that much. So here in about 3 minutes, I'm going to get into the Indianapolis Colts. Chris Ballard mentioned a trade up and how that might happen for them. We'll kind of have to wait and see. He said that they were going to be aggressive and how they kind of move around the board. There are a lot of people looking to trade back in the draft, apparently, when you look at the first round, which makes sense because there's a very few number of standout prospects this year. So we've got teams looking to trade back. So I've got a short list of guys that I think it would be worth the Colts looking to trade up for if they fall in the draft. I'll give you that list in about 3 minutes. Golfers, listen up. Your ultimate golf adventure is here. The 2026 Indiana Golf Card is your ticket to 8 incredible rounds of golf for more than 80% off. Valued at over $300, you can get yours for just $60. The Indiana Golf Card covers your green fees at 8 different courses across central Indiana, starting Friday at 9 a.m. Go to IndySportsTicket.com and click on the sweet deals to get your card before they're gone.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, X, the Indy Sports Ticket app, or 1430 AM. It is greatly appreciated as always. The NFL Draft, we are days away from the draft, and starting tomorrow, we'll start having some Colts people on to kind of talk about who they could take in the second round. Could they trade up? Who would they trade up for? All of those kinds of things. And I've got a short list, I think, of three guys, who the Colts could potentially trade up for. We'll see. It's really tough to know who's going to kind of slide in this year's draft because, again, everyone is grouped together. Like, there's no clear wide receiver one. There's no clear there is a clear linebacker one. It's Sonny Styles from Ohio State. Caleb Downs is obviously the best safety. Fernando Mendoza is obviously the best quarterback. But every other position, there seems to be a lot of disagreements on who the best guys are. So I'm intrigued to kind of see who's going to fall in this year's class. And one of the guys that I hope falls and that I hope the Colts trade up for to grab is TJ Parker. Okay, TJ Parker is an edge rusher out of Clemson. This is a guy who, going into his final year at Clemson before the season started, was the guy who was maybe going to be, or he was projected to be, a top 5 pick. That's what everyone kind of expected. You know, in 2025, you know, he has 19 and a half tackles for loss and 11 sacks. Like, that's really good. That's a really, really good number to be at. And then last year, he fell off quite a bit. And so because of that, because his, production dropped, his value in the draft has dropped. But I really like him. He's 6'3.5", so he's tall. He's got long arms. Ran a 4.68 40, weighing in at 263 pounds. So he's big. He's long. He's athletic. He can move. He checks a lot of boxes. The most important one being how talented he is. Okay, like the talent is so obviously there. He just had a down year at Clemson last year, like many other people did. This is a guy who, if he went like 17th, I don't think that would be a surprise. But if he fell and he was on the board to like pick 32, that's a guy that the Colts may consider trading up for and grabbing, because as we know, even though Chris Ballard thinks that his hit rate on defensive ends is really is good, we all know that it's not. I saw a tweet earlier today, and it made me mad. Very few things make me mad, but I saw it, and I just, geez. So this Colts guy, I don't even know who he was, but he was going through Chris Ballard's like recent drafts. It was basically labeling everybody a hit, meh, or a bust. And he labeled Leatu Latu a hit. And people questioned him on it because at best, Leatu Latu's been meh. 12 and a half sacks through 2 seasons for the first defensive player off the board is meh. I think that's fair. But, the guy responded with all these different advanced stats, and how all these different advanced stats say that Leatu Latu's amazing. I like advanced stats. I think they're good. I think that they do a better job of kind of telling you how good a player is compared to just like normal stats, But here's the thing. Here's my problem with advanced stats. You can just pick and choose. Like, if you want, if you do enough digging, you can find an advanced stat that tells you that whoever you want to be good is good. It's not hard to do. You can go find it. And that's basically what this guy did. And this is the thing that I like about TJ Parker. I don't think that he's going to be some advanced stat guy. oh, he's not very strong, but his technique is really good. Like that that is what people said. That is what people said about Leatu Latu. Got to work on his strength a little bit, but his technique's really good. I don't think that that's going to be an issue at all with TJ Parker, big, strong defensive lineman who is really good against the run. I know that's what everyone wants to hear whenever it comes to these whenever it comes to these edge rushers. They're really good against the run. It is important. Kwity Paye was good against the run, so they need another edge who can kind of help set it and solidify their run defense. I think TJ Parker can do that, and he has the strength to be a good pass rusher at some point, right? Because you can teach technique. It's a little bit tougher to teach guys strength, okay? Another guy on this list that I think it'd be worth the Colts trading up for if they fall is Jordan Tyson. And the Jordan Tyson thing, I don't like writing him down because I'm setting myself up to look like an idiot. Because I've seen Jordan Tyson mocked as high as like the 6th pick in the draft, and I've seen him mocked as low as like the 22nd pick in the NFL draft. And if he falls, which is very possible, even though some people do regard Jordan Tyson as the second best wide receiver in the draft. He's coming out of Arizona State, by the way. If he fell into the late 20s, I think this is a guy that the Colts should seriously consider going and getting because they need another wide receiver desperately. Okay? Westbrook Akine, not going to cut it. 11 receptions last year for the Dolphins. That's not the guy that I want lining up opposite of Alec Pierce. Jordan Tyson he's just really good. He's fast. Okay, he looks like a wide receiver. Like he's 6'2". He's 200 pounds. He's got long arms, which is exactly what you want for your wide receiver to look like. The one thing about him that I don't like is we don't really have a 40-yard dash time on him. Don't really love that. But you know that he's strong, 26 reps on the bench press at 225. It sounds like me. So taller guy too, can separate. There's just a lot to really like about him. And the Colts need a guy opposite of Alec Pierce to take some of the attention away from him. Okay, so Jordan Tyson, if he falls, again, very possible that he's a top 10 pick. But if he falls, this is a guy that I think would fit really well for the Indianapolis Colts. Akeem Mesidor, another edge rusher. This is the other guy out of Miami. Everyone loves Reuben Bain and his T-Rex arms. Everybody loves him. Okay, but when it comes to Mesidor, he's very similar to Jordan Tyson, where like I've seen Akeem Mesidor mocked to go 9th. I've seen him mocked to go 15th. I've seen him mocked to go 25th, which tells me no one really knows where this guy's going to go. And if it ends up being the latter and he falls in the draft, then I think this is another guy worth trading up for. I don't think that there's any linebackers outside of Sonny Styles worth trading up for. He's not going to be a guy who he's not going to be a guy who falls. Like Sonny Styles is a lock to be a top 10 pick. Hey, Chris, can you answer the phone? Sorry. I was trying to give you as much time as possible. You're good. Oh, no. Call back in, person. Call back in. Chris was sending a very important email. I can see his I was
emailing the boss.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's important. Call back in, whoever that was. There it is. So I do think that Akeem Mesidor is another guy that, again, could fall, could go really early. We'll see. Dude had 12.5 sacks last year, or this year, excuse me. I mean, he's a stud, man. But Mesidor had a really nice year opposite of Reuben Bain. If this is a guy who falls in late into the first round, this is the guy that the Colts should go get. I don't think there's a linebacker really worth trading up for. I think that, after Sonny Styles, it's a lot of just, whatever. But, we'll see. Chris Ballard said that they're going to be aggressive moving around this year. We'll see if that happens or not. See, Fitch, what's going on, man?
Nothing, brother. How are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Doing great. I got a gun-to-head question for you.
Love a gun-to-head question.
All right. I would say that Colts' biggest need in this draft is a linebacker.
Okay.
But gun-to-head, is that a less important position nowadays in the NFL, kind of like a running back? You know how, like, the running back fell off for a long time? Like, is linebacker in that category, even though it's a glaring need for the Colts?
I think that it is, because theoretically, like, the Colts are, like, I really like Cam Bynum at safety. He can come down and he can help your run defense. The Colts, if they can stay healthy, we'll see if it happens or not. If they can stay healthy at defensive tackle, I think that they're going to like their run defense up the middle. So they really just need a guy who can cover. And I think that's where Hunter Wohler, the 7th round pick from last year, kind of comes into play. When you need a linebacker who can cover, he can do that for you. And so it's not as important, which is why if they trade up this year, I don't think that they're trading up for a linebacker. It'll be for probably an edge rusher or a wide receiver.
Do you think that, and I don't have any idea where he's going to go in the draft, but like an Aiden Fisher, I would say he would be a late day 2 or a day 3 pick. Am I wrong in that? And would he fit in with the Colts?
He's probably a late day 2 at best. I do agree with you on that. I don't think he would be a good fit for the Colts just because I don't think he runs well enough. And, you know, like if Gus Bradley was still here, I think he'd be a great fit because he could just drop back and play zone, right? Like that's a lot of what they did at Indiana. Whereas like when you're playing for the mad scientist, as people like to call Lou Anarumo, hey, I don't mind it. He did a really good job last year. He earned the nickname. But when you're playing for a guy like him, like you have to be able to play man to man, and I just don't know if Aiden Fisher's athletic enough to do that.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
All right.
I still think the Colts are going to trade up, though.
What do you think they're going to trade up for?
Well, I said linebacker or wide receiver, and you just talked me out of linebacker, so let's go wide receiver. I like your thoughts on the Tyson guy if he falls a little bit, or a Cooper or I mean, there's a lot of good wide receivers, I feel like, in this draft.
There are, and that's kind of why. It's such an interesting thing because like I don't know how much mock draft stuff you've read, but everyone I read, like the only consensus is Fernando Mendoza is going number 1, and that's really it. So my thing with linebacker is like after Sonny Styles, who's just a beast coming out of Ohio State, I feel like after him, like linebackers 2 through 5 are really similar. So I feel like because of that, the chances of the Colts moving up for a guy, especially when Ballard is all about value, I just think it lessens that. Whereas if a guy like Jordan Tyson falls, Shane Steichen's going to be in Ballard's ear like, dude, please move up. I'm begging you.
Right.
So
right. You got time for one more?
Yeah, man.
Would it be a bad pick for the Titans if they took Jeremiah Love?
That's a really good question. I would say that I don't think it would not be a bad pick because I think Jeremiah Love's going to be awesome. I think he's going to be one of the 5 best running backs in the NFL at some point in his career. And when you have that, it takes a little bit of pressure off of your starting quarterback. The issue for Tennessee is they just have so many issues. They have so many holes. Like,
right.
I'm assuming Robert Saleh is going to pull really hard for them to draft Sonny Styles because when you look at his defense in San Francisco, everything kind of runs through Fred Warner, and Sonny Styles could be that kind of a linebacker. We'll see. So I think he's going to push hard for him. But the thing with this draft, like you said, like there's so many good receivers. The Titans could easily take Jeremiah Love in the first round, take, a good linebacker in the second round, and then grab a nice wide receiver in the third. And so for that reason, I think that it would be a good pick for Tennessee. Plus, we're seeing running backs really change offenses. Like Jahmyr Gibbs is the best player on that Lions offense. Bijan Robinson's the best player on the Falcons offense. Jonathan Taylor was the best player on the Colts offense last year, and so on. So I think with the recent shift we've seen, I wouldn't mind the pick if I was a Titans fan.
And at Kenneth Walker for Seattle. Without him, they don't win
Yeah.
the Super Bowl, I feel like.
Yeah, even though he was so important that they let him go.
They let him go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Golly.
Seriously. So,
right. All right, brother. Right on. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you,
C-Fitch. I got a quick off-topic question for you. I know we were following your progress as far as the baby names. Did you guys come up with a final name for baby Fitch, C-Fitch coming soon?
Not final, but Harrison is the clubhouse leader, which I feel like somebody on the show threw that out there.
Fair enough. Very good.
Because it was
this for your
between
kids,
Harrison
C-Fitch?
and Henry. Yeah. We're my wife is due with the boy in August.
I didn't know that. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, before Jonathan came in, me and Dan were taking calls on naming C-Fitch's son.
Okay, you told me that, and I misunderstood. Okay, gotcha. All right, that's awesome, C-Fitch.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, dude. See ya.
Appreciate it, guys.
You got it, man. C-Fitch, a misfit, a loyal misfit as well, asking some really good questions about the NFL draft. 317-228-1430. That is the number if you have questions about the draft. If you have a take about the draft that you would like to discuss, I am all about it. We are rocking and rolling here on a beautiful Tuesday. I want to talk about ownership because it's the most important part of any franchise in any sports. There is a new owner in the NBA, and I am so glad he is not affiliated with any of the sports teams here in Indiana. I will tell you why in 3 minutes.
may one day be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, you can also listen to the show on X __ Jonathan Smith to watch and listen there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. We have something very important to discuss. NBA head coaches, ownership. Steve Kerr may leave the Warriors, and I just saw that, and it's thrown me off my game a little bit. Here we go. We're talking about ownership and how important it is. You have to have a good owner in every single sport, in every single one. Okay? Like, the reason why the Bulls have been bad for forever is because Reinsdorf is an awful owner. He's not a good one at all. When you look at the Jets, they have terrible ownership. When you look at the Knicks, they don't have good ownership. You just keep working through it. The Pirates and the Reds don't have good ownership. That's why they're bad every year. You have to have a good owner. If you don't have a good owner, you are screwed. The Dodgers have the best owner in sports. That's why they've won 2 World Series in a row, and it's why the Lakers within the next 5 years are going to be awesome, because that guy just bought the Lakers for $10 billion. You have to have a good owner. The Blazers, their team sold for about $4 billion. And their new owner, his name is Tom Dundon. Guy's cheap. He's incredibly cheap. And here's just an example of some of the things that he's done this year during his very short time as the Blazers owner. The Blazers have not paid for their two-way players, team photographer, or digital reporter to travel to San Antonio for the first 2 games of the playoffs. Seems important. This one's insane. They are not allowing for their team to have late checkout at hotels because they don't want to pay the extra money for a late checkout. That's insane. So your game's at 7:30. You're checking out at 12:30. What do you do for the next 7 hours? Come on now. They canceled playoff T-shirts for home games because they didn't want to pay for 15,000 shirts. And he is dead set. Tom Dundon, he is dead set on only paying a head coach of the Blazers, whoever they hire, because Chauncey Billups is, he got arrested by the FBI. He's dead set on paying their next head coach anywhere between $1 and $1.5 million a year. That's a lot of money, but there are assistant coaches in the NBA who make $1 to $1.5 million a year. This guy's a cheapskate. Just no way around it. The Blazers are going to be bad going forward. You have to have someone who is fully invested and is willing to spend the money in order for your team to be good. It's why the Clippers at some point are going to be good, because they have an owner in Steve Ballmer who is fully invested both financially and emotionally. You have to have both. And Mr. Tom up there in Portland, not invested anywhere near enough for that team to actually, which is really frustrating because they have some legitimately good players. And when you go cheap, it ruins your franchise. Guys already don't want to go play in Portland. They definitely don't want to go play in Portland for an owner who isn't willing to fork out the coin necessary in order for them to have a chance to win games. Because at some point, you probably have to go into, you have to go over the luxury tax in order to have a good team. At some point, if you're going to make a push to win the finals, most teams have to do that. Okay, so it's frustrating because Portland has a really good history. It's a town that really loves the Blazers, and they, sold their team to a guy who isn't fully invested. So that is going on. Billy Donovan left the Bulls, and he's not done coaching. That seems pretty apparent. I'm intrigued to see where he goes. First and foremost, I don't blame him for leaving at all. The Bulls are headed nowhere fast. Okay? They're very content to be bad, which is frustrating. Again, bad ownership. That's what it does to you. But it's pretty clear that Billy Donovan is going to be coaching again. And Orlando, I think, makes a lot of sense for him, especially if the Magic decide to fire Jamal Mosley at the end of the season, which is something that could most definitely happen, right? Here's the interesting thing. Steve Kerr, it was just announced. What's so funny?
So while you were talking about the Trailblazer thing,
Yeah.
I asked Chat GPT to give me a cheap version of Trailblazer, and it said Pathfinder. So maybe they'll change their name to the Portland Pathfinders.
They're the Portland Pathfinders going forward. Okay.
Sorry,
I like
there you
that.
go.
No, that
That's
works.
all I got.
No, I like it. The Portland Pathfinders. Hey, there's alliteration there. So sign me up. So the interesting thing about this Billy Donovan thing is that it doesn't look like Steve Kerr is going to go back to Golden State. His contract ran out. It looks like he's going to walk away. We'll see what happens. If he, in fact, does leave, it has already been announced that the Warriors want to hire Todd Golden, head coach at Florida. I mean, Todd Golden coached at the University of San Francisco for a long time. Are we really... Look, I'm telling you right now, this is where this is going. We're going to be talking about... this is amazing. We're going to be talking about Billy Donovan potentially going back and being the head coach at Florida because he left Chicago. It looks like Steve Kerr is going to leave the Warriors, and Todd Golden is going to leave the Gators for the Warriors, leaving that Florida head coaching job wide open. Now, there was a reason why Billy Donovan left Florida. It's because Florida ultimately is a football school. That's what I think that it is. You can win at Florida as, you can win 7 national titles in a row in college basketball. And they're going to care because it's in the South and they love their sports down there. But as soon as football season starts, you become irrelevant, which sometimes that's a blessing if you're not a very good coach. But if you're a really good coach, it can probably be a little frustrating. So I'm very intrigued to see where Billy Donovan winds up. I'm very intrigued to see if Steve Kerr does end up leaving, because if Steve Kerr leaves, Todd Golden to Golden State, and then what does Florida do? So that whole part of this, I think, is incredibly interesting. So we'll see what happens. We're gonna have some shuffling around. It doesn't look like the head basketball coach, the head coaches in college basketball are done kind of swarming around. Oh, don't tell me he said this. Mike Chappell, good old Chappie. He has a photo of Sauce Gardner standing at the Colts podium, and he has in quotes, I'm the first round pick. Don't tell me that Sauce Gardner said that. Please no. That is the last thing I want to hear from freaking Sauce Gardner. I mean, look, I get it. He was really good as a rookie. His second year in the NFL, he was pretty good too. All first team All Pro his rookie year and his second year in the league. Since then, hasn't even been to the Pro Bowl. Now, the Pro Bowl is a terrible indication of who's good at football and who isn't. But, I mean, I don't know. Were you overwhelmingly impressed by what Sauce Gardner did for the Colts last year? I wasn't. He was also hurt last year. Only appeared in 11 games. That's not great. Another Another guy paid by Chris Ballard who's coming off of some sort of an injury. So that's great as well. Don't do this thing where you're walking around talking about how you're the first round pick. I don't want to hear that, man. I don't want to hear it. Okay? Just walk up there, say, "Hey, it's a bummer that we don't have a first round pick this year, but I'm sure Chris Ballard will do a great job picking guys up in the second and third round." Say something like that. Or, you know what? Hey, man, we may not have a first round pick this year, but the guys in this locker room, I really believe in. Say that. Not none of this. I'm the first round pick this year. All right, man. Great. Go play like it. Jeez Louise, man. I find stuff like that annoying. Do you? What about you, Chris? Am I being?
I'm more of
ridiculous?
a less talk, more action kind of
Me
guy.
too,
So I
man.
mean, if he was backing up his words or whatever, then I guess it would be okay. But I'm not about that. I guess.
And he's a good he's a good player.
Yeah.
And if he'd come over last year and in the 4 games that he played for the Colts last year, if he'd been awesome, like multiple interceptions, multiple like big pass breakups down the field,
Right, like AFC Player of the Week type stuff.
go ahead and say that.
Even if he would have done that and still said that, like it's still like, come on, man. That's like wearing a backwards hat.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Do you know how many interceptions Sauce Gardner has through his first 4 years in the NFL?
I think maybe 6. I'm just guessing.
He's got 3.
Okay. Well,
It's like I don't want to hear about it, man. He's got all these passes defended. Lovely. That's great. That's important. I want corners though who take the football away. That's what I want. And he doesn't seem like that kind of guy. And look, corners are really important. You can make a very strong argument that that corner is more important than edge rusher and all these kinds of things, right? That's cool. You can make that argument. But ultimately, the value comes in their ability to take the football away. Like when you look at Stephon Gilmore, the reason why he was so good is when he had opportunities to take the football away, he did. When you look at Trayvon Diggs a couple of years ago when he won Defensive Player of the Year, why did he win the award? Because he took the football away. That's what the best corners in football do. Hopefully, that is something that Sauce Gardner can improve upon this year. Three interceptions 4 years into the league. Come on, man. We can do a little bit better than that. So don't. I am the first round pick. That's just annoying.
yeah,
Okay.
Don't talk about it. Be about it, man.
So yeah, come on. If you want to say that, once we're 7 weeks into the season and the Colts are 2-5, and they go, "Hey, Sauce, do you feel like it would have been helpful if the Colts had a first round pick this year?" And you've got 5 interceptions 7 games into the season. If you then want to say, "Well, I am the first round pick," then hey, man, totally fine. But let's maybe produce a little bit before we say that. All right, it is Tuesday, Top 10 Tuesday, as always. Today, I decided to do it on backwards hat guys. So we've got a Top 10 Tuesday featuring backwards hat people in about 4.5 minutes.
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Hour number 3 getting underway here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thank you for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching the show on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app. I am going to get to Top 10 Tuesday, but Chris and I were talking off the air, and he made a really good point. I have to meet my quota. I haven't talked about running at all today. And we were talking about some different segment ideas and things, which is always fun. And he threw out this idea of me like running in place and doing things like that. Quote, because I like to run. I would just like to say on the record, I do not like to run. I'm running the half marathon on May 2nd, and I'm never running ever again. I'm done. Never doing it again. It sucks. You asked, or you said something like, you said that you bet like whenever I'm done, I feel really good.
Yeah,
and I feel accomplished.
Yeah,
that's not how I feel.
Then why? Why do you do it?
Because I paid $100 to run in the race. I don't want to waste the money.
Fair enough. Okay, I could see that.
When I get done, this is not an exaggeration. I walk up the stairs, which is already just brutal, to get to my apartment. And I open the door. I take about 5 steps, and I lay down on the ground. Every time. Doesn't matter how far I run. I walk through the door. I take 5 steps, and I lay on the ground in my living room because my back just hurts. I'm like, you know what? I just want to lay here and never move again.
So how much is there a countdown clock for how much longer you're going to be running? Like you said, you're doing a marathon and then never again after that.
Never again.
When is the marathon?
May 2nd.
Is that the fight? Like
not
the little
not this Saturday, but next.
Okay, gotcha.
It's the Indy Main. So I'm going to run. I run today. I run Thursday. I run Sunday. I run next Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday.
I bet you'll run again though.
I have
never say
6
never.
runs left.
Okay.
Never is a long time, to be fair. But I don't know, man. I just I don't like it. Jonathan, it's Jonathan hit it and quit it. Great question. To be fair, let me provide context before I just say the next thing that I'm going to say. So my dad, that's exactly what he did. My dad ran the full marathon. He ran a full marathon. He ran the St. Jude Marathon in Memphis. This happened about a decade ago because they ran it on my 16th birthday. Great memory. And my dad has not run since. My dad lost all this weight, runs a marathon, raised a bunch of money as he was doing it. He's got really cool stories from it. Apparently, like mile 14, you run through St. Jude Hospital, and they've got like kids down there that are like cheering you on as you run through, which is really cool. Yeah. But he hasn't ran a 5K. He hasn't went on like a mile-long jog in his neighborhood. He ran the marathon, and he has never run again. And I try really hard and my goal, I think, is to do the same thing. Which, to be fair, like if I like can fix whatever's going on with my lower back, maybe I run again. Part of it is I'm just overweight. I need to lose pound. Like I need to lose some weight. Like
I feel that.
It happened last night. So, yesterday I was talking about how like you ever like walk around your house with your shirt off and you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh.
Well, dude, if you stop running, then like it might get worse.
It might. So last night I was on the couch watching basketball and Amelia walked in and she sat down beside me and she was on her phone. not really watching the game. She just wanted to be in the same room as me, which is really nice. And she does this thing where she'll like lay across my lap whenever she wants me to like scratch her back or whatever.
Sure.
And I decided to do that to her last night. And so I'm laying across like her waist, right? And she's not saying anything. She's not scratching my back. And so I lay there for like 3 minutes and I get up and I look at her and she's got like tears in her eyes.
She can't feel her legs.
Because I was really heavy and she didn't want to tell me to get up because she didn't want to make me feel fat. That's what she said. And I was like, gosh dang it. I got to lose weight. Oh my God.
You're already aiming for dad bod mode and you haven't even had kids yet.
I know. Seriously.
I feel you.
Gritty asked if I've been stretching and doing things. I have been. That's am I running too fast? I am not running too fast. Promise. That is not the issue. That's not the issue, I promise. The are my hips tight thing, like I've been stretching. My hips are not the issue. I don't really know what the issue is. It's not my shoes. Yeah, because like I thought it was my hips are tight and it's causing low back pain. That's not the issue. Again, I wish it was, because that would be easy fix. It would have been fixed by now. But see, Fitch, I almost said that. That's why I stopped and decided to add some context.
I don't think you should quit altogether. Maybe like just wean yourself off a little bit. Maybe speed walk, because that's what I do now. I wouldn't run if my life depended on it, but I'll speed walk.
I'll walk. Like I'll move.
Yeah.
Like I've got a workout regimen lined up for when I'm done to really start losing the weight, because I need to. I weighed 188 pounds this morning. That's 2 pounds away from the heaviest that I've ever been, which is insane.
Well, it's also aging too. As you get older, your metabolism changes, and
it does. But my
you have
eating
to work
habits,
harder to keep it off. Yeah,
my eating habits also suck. I got bad eating habits, man. It's not good. It's not good, but it's okay. I'll make an adjustment, and it'll be all right. This is something we're in 2026. Yeah, this is right around the corner. Are you excited for the World Cup?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think it's cool that they have it in a bunch of different cities and the things that go along with it, but it's not something I have pinned in my calendar. Are you?
I'm really excited about it.
Okay.
I really like soccer. It's like the one thing that I can watch and not have to be like, how am I going to talk about this on my show tomorrow? So it's nice. Like the wedding that I was at on Saturday, told myself, I was like, I want to be in the moment. I'm not going to sit in the corner and watch playoff games like I normally would. It'll be okay. If you need to watch a game Sunday morning after church, that's fine.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. I sat in the corner with my buddy and we watched Chelsea play against Manchester United.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. It's not something I would seek out, but I would probably watch it for the genuineness of it. And
Yeah.
how much it means to those.
It's like I'll watch I'm gonna watch Team USA, and as soon as they're done, I'll probably be done as well, and then I'll watch the finale. So
Okay.
we'll see. But all right. The Indianapolis Colts, they're getting ready for the NFL draft. We'll do Top 10 Tuesday again at 2:20. Right now, though, we'll keep on talking draft. And when I look at the draft board this year and I look at all of the different options, I'm so lost as to what's going to happen, because everyone's big board is different. Like the guys that everybody likes, like the only consensus things are Fernando Mendoza is going number 1, Jeremiah Love is the best running back, and Caleb Downs is the best safety, and Sonny Styles is the best linebacker. After that, it's like who really knows? I mean, The linebacker position I find to be incredibly interesting because after Sonny Styles, it's very similar, I think, to the running backs in this class, where it's Jeremiah Love, large gap, everybody else. It's Sonny Styles, large gap, and then everybody else. I mean, like he's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. And then I don't know if we're going to see another linebacker go in the first round. I think that you'll start seeing him come off the board in round 2 again. And like Jacob Rodriguez and Anthony Hill Jr. and there's another guy in there that I'm blanking on right now. And CJ Allen, like all three of those guys, I think are really similar. And those are probably linebackers 2, 3, and 4 in some order. Everybody's order seems to be different. And there's a part of me that really just wants them to take CJ Allen, even though of those three guys, he probably is the third best one. The reason why I like CJ Allen is because he's played at Georgia, as dumb as that sounds. Like, how many linebackers from Georgia have shown up in the NFL and been bad? You probably can't think of one. They've all been good. Seems like everybody that plays defense for Kirby Smart gets to the NFL and just immediately translates. And CJ Allen's a guy who he's a really good player. All right. Started 29 games at Georgia. The only thing about him that I don't like is that he had a meniscus injury against Texas earlier in the year. You know, he did come back about 2 weeks later, which, you know, this is a perfect guy for Chris Ballard, a guy who's got some sort of an injury. Those seem to be the guys that Chris Ballard really enjoys paying and drafting. So maybe CJ Allen is the move, right? But he's really athletic. Played running back in high school. Was recruited as a running back. Ran track. Kirby Smart, he's supposed to say this, but he's on the record saying that CJ Allen's one of the best guys that they've had in the program at linebacker. He's relentless, works hard, competitor. He's tough whenever you watch him play. And I really like him. And I do think part of it is me giving him this Georgia bump. But whenever you look at him, like, he looks like a linebacker. Thick, strong, he's physical, he's tough, which is something that the Colts really need. Like, they need some toughness, man. Right? He does a good job of getting off blocks. He's a really good tackler. He's got good closing speed. He seems comfortable in space. There's some linebackers, I think Patrick Queen, who plays for the Steelers, he's a really good example of this. Whenever he has to drop back in coverage and he doesn't know who's like running behind him, he just looks a little uneasy. CJ Allen doesn't really look that way, seems comfortable, seems to understand positioning. Does he have the athleticism to like play man to man? I don't know. He had some success with it at Georgia. Other times he struggled a little bit. But man, he's a good blitzer. There's a lot about him that I really like. He's just a little stiff. Like, he's not as fluid of a mover as some of the linebackers in front of him. But we'll see. I really like him. And I think that is a worst case scenario pick for the Colts at linebacker. If they don't get a Jacob Rodriguez or an Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker out of Texas, that I really like him as well. If they end up having to get a guy like CJ Allen, then I think that would actually be a decent win for the Colts. Maybe he lasts until round 3. Actually, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. He's probably a round 2 guy. But the athleticism is the thing that really concerns me, because he didn't run the 40 at the combine. He didn't do the vertical jump. He didn't do the bench press. He didn't do the broad jump. He didn't do the 3-cone drill. He didn't do the 20-yard shuttle. He didn't do anything like that. And guys who skip drills, it's usually because they know that they're not going to do a good job at them. So while I like C.J. Allen, and I think that he could be the answer for the Colts at linebacker this next year, because you have to be smart to play linebacker for Kirby Smart. It is a requirement. I think this is a guy who could come in and would be able to figure out everything that Lou Anarumo wants to do on the defensive side of the ball. The question is just going to be, what do the Colts really want at that position? They want a guy who's just physical and tough and finishes tackles and really pops dudes, then it's going to be C.J. Allen. But if they want a really good athlete at linebacker, then it's not going to be C.J. Allen. That's just kind of how that is. It's probably going to be Anthony Hill Jr. or Jacob Rodriguez at that point. Any one of the three, I do not mind. But ultimately, I think there's obviously pros and cons to all of them, because if there weren't any cons, they would not be on the board at pick 47, which is where the Colts are at this year. Looking forward to having Colts guys on throughout the week. We're going to have Jake Arthur from Locked On Colts on tomorrow. Zach Hicks is going to come on Friday, and Destin Adams is going to come on Thursday as well, just to get you ready for the upcoming NFL draft and some of the guys that the Colts may take. It's Tuesday, which means Top 10 Tuesday. I will give you the list of 10 backwards hat guys that aren't doing so great in about 3 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching the show on X__ Jonathan Smith. Follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM if you're driving around in your car wanting to listen that way. Every Tuesday is Top 10 Tuesday here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. And coming up on Thursday, we have the NFL Draft, where I will sadly have to write off a few athletes because they're going to walk across the stage, shake Roger Goodell's hand, and then put the hat on backwards. And I hate doing it, but every year it happens, and I have to be out on those people. Because I used to work at a bank. Attire there was incredibly important. Had to wear a suit every day. I hated it. I don't think anyone likes having to wear a suit to work every day. Chris, could you imagine if we had to wear suits every day?
Yeah, actually I could.
Really?
Here?
Here.
Sure. Yeah. If it was a little bit more upscale.
Okay. Have you ever had a job where you had to wear a suit every day?
The DJ job. Not really a suit, but I definitely had to wear the tie to weddings and stuff.
Fair enough.
Not quite the bank, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. So I hated it because I like being comfortable. I like that I can wear a t-shirt and basketball shorts to work. But look, man, it's a bank. A bank needs to have a dress code. Because when people walk into a bank, they want to see someone that's put together and appears to know what they're doing. And wearing sweatpants and a hoodie doesn't exactly communicate that you're a trustworthy person that you're a trustworthy enough person for someone to leave their money with. It's just a fact, okay? When you're representing something big, you need to represent it well. That's why I don't like it when NFL quarterbacks and coaches wear backwards hats at press conferences. If they want to wear them during the games that way, that's fine. If they want to wear them that way when they're out at dinner with their friends during the week, totally fine. Just don't do it when you're representing a billion-dollar franchise. Could you imagine if Donald Trump addressed the nation in a Nike hoodie with sweat stains on it?
I feel like we're not far from that, though, to be honest.
That'd be kind of nuts. That'd be crazy. That'd be incredible. I mean, the meme would go viral immediately. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh man. But like that wouldn't it wouldn't give me, at least. Maybe I'm just weird. It wouldn't give me confidence in him. So like, what's this guy been doing? Doesn't look like he's been running the country. Could you imagine if your boss led like a big corporate meeting with a backwards hat and joggers on? It's not a great look. The way that you represent your company is important, and that matters for NFL head coaches and quarterbacks, because those are the two most prominent voices in any locker room. So, with that being said, here's a list of 10 NFL and NBA head coaches who wear backwards hats, and we have some quarterbacks on the list as well. I think you'll notice a theme with how all of these people are doing right now. Brian Schottenheimer, number 10 on the list. He went 7-9-1 last year, and he was wearing his hat backwards at press conferences last year. It's not a coincidence. You're representing the Cowboys, the most valuable sports franchise in the United States, maybe in the world. I don't know if they're valued more than like Man City or Liverpool or anybody like that. But the Dallas Cowboys are certainly the most valuable franchise in America. And you're out there with a backwards visor on, looking like you just rolled out of bed and you're about to go help your buddies move in exchange for pizza and beer. Not a coincidence that you went 7-9-1. Number 9, Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd has had a couple good seasons as a head coach in the NBA. He got to the Western Conference Finals, where the Warriors swept him and the Dallas Mavericks. Steve Kerr, by the way, would never wear a backwards hat. He got to the NBA Finals, where the Celtics gentlemen swept him. Joe Mazzulla, not really a backwards hat guy. All I'm saying, Coach Kidd, is if you turn the hat around, maybe you'll actually have a chance in those series. Number 8, we've got J.J. Redick, backwards hat guy at press conferences representing the freaking Los Angeles Lakers. Just incredible. You know, like that backwards hat says, I went to Duke and I'm ready to party. That forwards hat says, hey, man, I'm ready to go to work. Just look like you're ready to go to work and not like you're ready to go on another rager with your buddies at Duke. Not hard. Number 7, we got Dan Quinn, Commanders head coach. Did you know Dan Quinn is only one game over 500 in his career? He's 60-59. He had one good year in Atlanta where he went on a run to the Super Bowl. Guess who was his offensive coordinator was forward-facing hat guy, Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan left, and Dan Quinn lost his job shortly after. And every time he talks, he looks like he's about to go out for beers on a Friday night when he's at the podium representing the Washington Commanders. Just turn the hat around for 5 minutes, man. And then once it's done, you can turn it back around. I don't really care after that. Number 6, we got Brock Purdy. Another result of the forward-facing hat guy, Kyle Shanahan. Not a fat guy. Very fit, very impressive. Brock Purdy is a result of Kyle Shanahan and everything around him. And when you remove one of Christian McCaffrey or Trent Williams or George Kittle, his production drops. Look like a quarterback at press conferences. Don't look like a guy that I hired to move my couch and clean out my garage. Number 5, Carson Wentz. He had 1 year where he almost won MVP. That happened in 2014. That was 12 years ago. That was the best season of his career. I think everything else outside of that has been lackluster for a guy who was drafted number 2 overall. When he's at the podium, he looks like he's about to sort through his garage. Maybe don't look like that, and you would still be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Number 4, I think the most legendary of the backwards hat head coaches, Matt Patricia, disciple of Bill Belichick, who I couldn't even imagine wearing a backwards hat. He would never. He's got too much class for that. Number 4 is Matt Patricia. When the Lions hired him, first press conference, right off the rip, walks up to the podium, backwards hat on. He didn't last long. He went 13, 29, and 1 during his time as the head coach of the Lions. Now, he's coaching college football. When he was at the podium for the Lions, he looked like he was about to hit up his local frat. I mean, not a good look at all. Number 3, we got Baker Mayfield. He was a backwards hat guy who got arrested in Fayetteville, Arkansas. He really struggled in Cleveland. He was on the verge of being out of the league, which woke him up. He is now a franchise quarterback in Tampa Bay. It's not a coincidence. He turned his hat around, and all of a sudden, he turned his career around. It's about being professional. It's about understanding what being a quarterback at the NFL level is. Number 2, J.J. McCarthy. Hasn't panned out in Minnesota at all. Vikings drafted him shortly after. He's got the hat on backwards. And ever since then, the Vikings are just like, you know what we should have done? We should have kept Sam Darnold. But they didn't. Not great. Now they've pivoted to Kyler Murray. Better option. Ford hat guy. Kyler Murray. J.J. McCarthy with the backwards hat on looks like a guy who just got done hitting like a keg stand at Michigan. I mean, look like an adult. It's really all that I'm asking here. And then number 1, of course, has to be our guy here in Indianapolis. It's been bad from the start for Anthony Richardson. Going into year 4, still hasn't grown up yet. He hasn't shown up for their off-season program or anything like that. And he had the moment a couple of years ago where he wore the visor upside down and backwards. Not a good look. Again, as soon as you're done with your press conference, you can, turn it around or whatever. But when you're doing the press conference, just have it face forward. When you think about the best coaches and the best quarterbacks in the history of football, all of them are forward hat facing guys. Tom Brady, John Elway, Dan Marino, Peyton Manning was a forward hat guy when he was at the podium. Sean Payton's one of the best coaches in football. He's not a backwards hat guy. Bill Belichick, probably the best coach in the history of the NFL. Forward-facing hat guy. The way that you represent yourself and the rest of your team really, really matters. And there's going to be some guys who get drafted on Thursday who are going to walk across the stage, and they're going to turn it around, and, that'll be the end of their careers. That might be a little dramatic.
A little extra.
A little bit. But seriously, it matters so much. And, it's one of those weird things. I don't know. I think that everything matters. Like, whenever you're going from high school to college, right, and you're being recruited, one of the things that you hear time and time again from people around you while that's happening is, hey, man, your GPA needs to be good. College coaches look at that. The way that you treat your teammates when you're on the sideline, you need to treat them well because college coaches, they look at that. Your college if a college coach is doing what he should be doing, like they're going to call your teachers and your principal and they're going to talk to your head coach and they're going to learn all sorts of stuff about your character and who you are and how you represent yourself and how you represent the team. Like, why do we think that all of a sudden stops whenever we're going from college to pro? If anything, it intensifies because now instead of paying you, a couple $1 million via some NIL deal, you're now signing a deal where, you're going to make $10 million a year over the next 5 years. Like when money is introduced, things tend to intensify, not relax. And so I think that it's something that matters. I think that GMs and owners and things of that nature, I think this is something that they should all really care about because you want to draft someone who represents you well. I don't think that that's some insane thing. I think you want to draft a guy who is about the team, and I don't know. Whenever you turn the hat around, you hide the logo, and I think that that's important. So we'll see. There will be at least one this year. I will write them all down as I see them. If you see them and you want to tag me on socials so that I can pick them up, that would be awesome. So there's my backwards hat theory, and it's never let me down. So we'll see how things go. By the way, LaMelo Ball, total backwards hat guy. Get him out of Charlotte. All right. So the NBA playoffs, they're in full swing. We had a couple of great games last night. We got more games tonight. Can't wait. Is Kevin Durant returning for Houston? If he is, what does that mean for that series? I would think that they would have some sort of word out on him already. I actually don't think that they do quite yet, which is fine. From there, Billy Donovan is leaving the Bulls. There's a decent chance, or there's a slim chance he winds up back at Florida, depending on what happens with Steve Kerr and Todd Golden. So a lot of things happening right now in the world of both college and professional basketball. More on that in 3 minutes. Golfers, listen up. Your ultimate golf adventure is here. The 2026 Indiana Golf Card is your ticket to 8 incredible rounds of golf for more than 80% off. Valued at over $300, you can get yours for just $60. The Indiana Golf Card covers your green fees at 8 different courses across central Indiana. Starting Friday at 9 a.m., go to indiesportsticket.com and click on the Sweet Deals tab to get your card before they're gone.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. Now, what a day. We're going to close it out with a little bit of NBA playoffs, really just some NBA news in general. Billy Donovan stepping down as the Bulls head coach. He could go back to college. We'll see, even though a lot of those big openings have already been filled, but he's going to have opportunities to coach in the NBA. He's a good coach, man. I'm telling you, and I don't blame him for wanting to leave Chicago at all. They are about to start rebuilding again, and he doesn't want to be there for that. So that totally makes sense. the Magic, that is a place that would make a lot of sense for him. Younger team on the rise. We'll see if they end up firing Jamal Mosley at the end of the year or not. So I think he likely stays in the NBA. But with that being said, Todd Golden could be leaving Florida. It has been reported that the Warriors want to hire Todd Golden if Steve Kerr does end up leaving. It looks like there's a decent chance that that's going to happen. So we'll kind of see how that shuffle ends up shaking out. But I'm incredibly intrigued to see kind of how all of it turns out. I'm also intrigued by the NBA playoffs. This is one of my favorite times of the year. We had, 3 games last night. We've got 3 more games tonight. And when it comes to the games last night, we'll start with the first one, Cavs and Raptors. The Cavaliers caught such a break by getting to play against Toronto. Because Toronto's probably the worst team in the East in terms of the teams that made the playoffs. But they ended up getting the 5 seed because the Magic couldn't beat the main Celtics. So, hey, sometimes things break your way. So, they're probably going to sweep Toronto. Toronto just doesn't have enough talent to keep up with a team like Cleveland. And we saw that again last night. 2 relatively easy wins for the Cavaliers to start that series. The second game was awesome because the New York Knicks lost. And it's tough to win games with 2 defensive liabilities. It's part of why I'm really excited for Ivica Zubac to be coming here to Indianapolis, because he protects the rim better than Miles Turner did. It's the reality of it. And we already know what's going to happen when the Pacers make the playoffs next year. Teams are going to try to pick on Tyrese Halliburton, who is a much improved defender, by the way. I thought he did a nice job defending last year in the playoffs compared to the year prior. So that's a really good sign. But you've got a guy in Zubac who can really protect the rim, which is going to be a really nice thing for the Pacers to add. Obviously, Jay Huff had a really nice year protecting the rim as well. Hopefully, the Pacers are able to work out a deal to bring him back. That way, the Pacers can also have a backup center who can move a little bit, kind of gives you a little bit of a different flavor whenever he's on the court. So you have to have that. And the Knicks don't. Mitchell Robinson's a really good rebounder, not really a great rim protector. Karl Anthony Towns, not a rim protector. And you saw the Hawks last night do what the Pacers did last year to this Knicks team. They just picked on Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson over and over and over again. And CJ McCollum went right at Jalen Brunson. He would get the switch. He'd break him down off the bounce, and then he'd make a shot. Really impressive stuff from him last night. Another 30 bomb. Really, really impressive stuff. So, so now that series is tied 1-1, going back to Atlanta for Game 3. And look, man, I think that Knicks fans should be nervous because they don't have anyone who can guard CJ McCollum. Or, well, they do. They would just have to move things around. But then it's like, who else is Jalen Brunson going to guard? You're going to put him on 6'8" Jalen Johnson? Probably not. I don't think that would work out well for them either. The one area they have an advantage, though, is with Karl Anthony Towns, who didn't get enough touches last night, as Jared Dubin highlighted earlier in the show. If they can fix that, they'll be fine, and they'll have a great chance to win games going forward. But if they can't, watch out. The Hawks could upset the Knicks, and that would just be awesome. They fire Tom Thibodeau because they can't get past the Eastern Conference Finals. How dare he? The Knicks have been irrelevant for a decade until he showed up. And they move off of him. They hire Mike Brown, who I think is a good head coach. Don't think that he's as good of a coach as Coach Tibbs, but hey, he's a little bit more offensive oriented. I think he's easier to deal with. Like, Coach Tibbs is tough, stubborn, all those things. Mike Brown, not as much so. So they got rid of a tough guy to bring in a guy. It's kind of similar to what happened with the Colts. They got rid of the toughness in the building. They brought in someone who's a little bit softer, and now they're on the verge of getting upset in the first round. So game 3 of that series is obviously going to be big, going to be interesting, and I can't wait for it. We've got games tonight as well. But before I get to those, let me go back to the late game last night. Can we not start games at 10:30 anymore? I would like to start there. Please. No more 10:30 starts. That Wolves and Nuggets game didn't end until after 1 a.m. Just insane. But the game itself was awesome. Back and forth down, all the way down the stretch. The Nuggets just ran out of gas late. They've got to find a way for Jamal Murray to not play 43 minutes. They've got to find a way for Nikola Jokic to play 38 minutes instead of 40. They were both so clearly exhausted at the end of that game, and it cost them. They settled for some bad shots, and they settled because they were tired. Jokic passed up on some shots that he probably could have made, and then their role players didn't really make shots. Aaron Gordon had a rough shooting night. Really, everyone had a rough shooting night except for Jamal Murray. I'm not worried, though. I still like the Nuggets to win that series. They're playing against a Minnesota team that they've seen every year in the playoffs for the last 3 years now, which I think is great. That's part of what makes rivalries, and the core of these teams have really stayed the same. And so it's the same guys seeing the same dudes every year in the playoffs. And there's a lot of animosity. There's a clip of Jaden McDaniels after the game, where they asked, how'd you guys win? And he was like, we just went after all of their weak defenders. And then he proceeded to name every single player on the Nuggets roster. It was really funny, honestly. And so you can tell these are two teams who don't like each other. Game 3 in Minnesota, that's probably going to be on Friday night, if I had to assume. No. We'll play the game on Thursday? Yeah, that game's going to be on Thursday night. And I can't wait for it. It's going to be a blast. But tonight, I'll be honest, not excited about the games tonight. The Celtics are going to crush Philly. I don't think that game's going to be close unless there's like some weird shooting variance where, like the Celtics shoot 23% from 3 and the Sixers shoot 40% from 3. Very, unless something like that happens, I think Boston wins pretty handily. It's why they're a 14.5-point favorite. Kind of crazy. The Blazers and the Spurs play at 8. I am going to watch that one just because I just like watching Wemby. I just like watching 7'4" guys that look like they're straight from Area 51. I like watching those guys play basketball. The Blazers just don't have enough talent. That's really the end of that. I like Denny Avdia. Thought he played well in game 1, but Wemby is so far and away the best player in this series that the Spurs wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they swept Portland. And then the last game tonight, I think Kevin Durant's going to play. The Rockets are playing the Lakers. The Lakers were favored in game 1 after it was announced that Kevin Durant was not going to play. Houston's currently favored by 4.5 points. That, to me, is an indication that Kevin Durant is expected to play. And so I hope that he does. It makes the games so much more interesting. But even if he doesn't, sign me up for another 48 minutes of the one and only LeBron James playing basketball at 41 years old, controlling every aspect of the game. I just his mastery of how to play basketball is just it's incredible to watch. It's a lot of fun to watch. He had like 19, 11, and 8 in game 1. And every time the Lakers needed a bucket, he got it. And he, consistently made the right plays on the floor. So just incredible stuff from him that I think will continue because he's LeBron James. And I've learned at this point, you don't really bet against that guy. So hopefully Durant is back. I haven't seen anything on it. I've been keeping my eye out for it all day because as soon as it's confirmed, I might put some currency on Houston, which you know what that means. That means bet the Lakers, given how it's going for me right now. So, yeah, those are the games tonight. More games tomorrow night. Portland plays tonight, which means the cheapest owner in the NBA. He's sending his team out there without anything extra. This is still so bizarre to me. Like, could you imagine spending $4 billion on something and then cheaping out?
Got to save money somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. It's like, I mean, I don't know, man. When you spend $4 billion on something, like, what is spending spending $500,000 extra to send two-way players, the team photographer, and a reporter with the team to San Antonio? It's probably not even $500,000. I'm just really big on whenever I pay for something that's really expensive, I'm going to do everything that I can to take care of it. You know what I mean? Like whenever this is not the same thing, but it's the best example I can think of on the spot. Whenever I buy a car that, I'm going to make sure that I'm, changing the tires on it, and that I'm getting the brakes checked, and that I'm changing the oil whenever it needs to be changed, and so on. Right? Like you have to do things to maintain the car. And the Blazers are just like, yeah, head coach, kind of important. We're going to cheap out on that. We're going to pay them like $4 million under what an NBA head coach normally makes on the cheap side of things. Hey, we make money by getting people to come to games, right? Like that's part of it. We're going to make there was a thing that came out last year where the Bulls hosted two home playing games. And they generated like an extra like $5 million off of it. Right? So that's $2.5 million a game. You say you're telling me you can't put T-shirts, cheap T-shirts, because they all are, in the seats for these people? I mean, it's just it's so bizarre. It's so it's incredible, man. I can't stand it. Can't really stand it at all. Tom Dundon, stay in Portland. Don't buy any sports team here or anything like that. I don't. Who is that?
He just wanted to know who was taking over for Dan. I was like, that's Jonathan Smith right there.
Yeah, you don't know who I am? What is going on here?
He was like, who's talking right now?
I'm the first round pick, as Sauce Gardner would say.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, just I don't know, man.
We have calls like that sometimes. Those
dude,
are fun too.
I figured that we would get him. It's who's that talking? It's the real Jonathan Smith. That's who it is, and it's really weird because you would think that I don't know, man. Like I sat in here with Dan for 2 years. I would think that people would have like a vague sense of who I am. I don't know. What do you think? You're about to say something.
I don't know. I'm different. I see you every day, so I know who you are.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I'm assuming when you did the show with Dan, people would be like, "Oh, you're Chris from Dan's show, right?"
For a while, yeah.
Yeah.
But I will admit, for the first couple months after you left, people were like, "Where's Jonathan?" You know what I mean? So
that's fair.
I get it.
That's fair.
Yeah,
it does. But I don't know. I mean, it's fine. It's the Jonathan and Chris show now. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Would you say it was at first the Hairy Arms and Oreos?
Yeah, the hair razor and Oreo show.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. Speaking of, that's gonna wrap up. Oh, we got another call in. We got 25 seconds. That's all we've got. All right, hurry up. It's definitely Buzzard. Yeah, Buzzard. What's up, man? Mate,
one quick request.
What's up?
Just one quick request before the end of your show for tomorrow's show. If you can just open up with the whole Pete Weber, don't you know who I am rant
okay.
at the beginning, just to announce you are the permanent and elite replacement for the Dan Duckers.
We can do that. We can think of a way to do that. Thanks, Buzzard.
All right, man.
See
Great
you,
show,
dude.
John.
See you. Thank you. All right, that's going to do it here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Shout out to Buzzard. Shout out to C. Fitch for calling in. Shout out to Jared Dubin, who came on the show at 1. Shout out to Chris, the amazing producer. We've got a great plan for you on Thursday. Can't wait for that. We'll probably talk about it a little bit tomorrow. We'll do Over the Hump Day, and it will be another awesome show. Thank you again for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow starting at noon.